one of my friends, he was talking to the small business owner, and as they were laying out the compensation model and how they were going to divide things up throughout the plan, they were talking about, who's going to get what shares, what ownership, what that could potentially look like if they can grow the business to being, valuation of over $100 million in X amount of time and then sell that off. And there's a lot of complex and moving parts to this. And what it's going to look like basically is taking this company and replicating them into multiple states for growth, basically is what it is. Where my client and friend comes into play is this is what they do. This is right up their alley. They already have small sales teams in different states. And that's exactly what they do right now is they'll take a product or they'll take a service. They'll help the company in those states scale it out. So that's essentially what this business model is going to look like is they're going to take this company that had started here and they want to help that business owner launch into other states and scale and grow very fast. But as we're having this conversation, one of the key elements to this was that he said, it doesn't really matter how much we're going to make on the end if we go to exit and sell. What's more important to me is that in this compensation model, in this plan, is that each one of my area managers, I work out a fair split to when the company sells, they get a small portion of that. And I thought that was interesting because the way that their business model is set up is they have small sales teams, I should say small to medium, sales teams in each state. And for those of you guys know that's in the sales industry, it's a high turnover rate. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where you have a high functioning personality in most cases for people that run in the sales business. They're always looking for that next shiny object. They're always looking for that next greatest, best thing, which is why you guys see a lot of turnover with salespeople and companies. You guys see it in the real estate world. I've come to learn in the brokerage world, you're going to have people that turn over a little bit quicker because they're always looking for that next best, greatest thing. They don't have the patience to sit it out for longevity. And I think that translates across many different, avenues when it comes to sales, basically, whether you're in solar, pest control, mortgages, whatever it is, insurance sales. You guys will probably all agree with me that they usually have high turnover rates because the salespeople have a very high entrepreneurial spirit. They always want to start their own thing. They always want to do their own thing. They're always looking for that next best big wave to ride, so it's really hard to retain and attract quality talent for long periods of time. And one of the things that has made these guys very successful in what it is that they do, because they've maintained the same sales teams over and over. So a lot of what that looks like is bigger companies will actually come to these guys and say, hey, we need you to sell our products. And some of these companies, for example, like AT&T, some of these guys have like big companies that have their own big sales teams in place, but they'll go to my friend's company because they're just good at what they do. They already have the sales process down. They have very low turnover rate for their salespeople in every state. And so we got into depth on having this conversation about it. And I was kind of listening in on it. And he said, it's important to me that when we build this company up, if we can build it up, we scale it on any exit that we do with any of our companies. It's important that our top salespeople, our sales managers in each individual state get a portion of that exit model, that exit plan, because I want them to equally be invested in it, and then he starts going into depth about, it's important to me that, my salespeople are taken care of. They're not going home stressed out. They're not worrying about how they're going to feed their families. They see that they have longevity. I want them to know that they matter. I want them to know that the work that they're putting in here, they're going to get a percentage of that when it comes time to, sell the company as we grow it up and we scale it. And he goes, and I've done this many times with them. He goes, we've built up many, many companies and we've sold them and we scaled them and then we'll sell it to another company, but his sales guys always stay back with him. So, for example, whether that's like a solar company, for example, they'll scale up a solar company. They do door to door, they do outbound marketing, they do all kinds of different things to scale these companies up. And then when they scale it up to a multi-million-dollar multiplier, and then they sell that, his salespeople don't go with that company when it gets sold. His salespeople stay back with him, and then it's on to another product or service. They just retrain on the new product, they retrain on the new service, and then at that point, once they feel comfortable with it, they go out and that's how they do the sales. They sell it. Same thing, scale a company up, sell that company, and then they're back to square one again, right? So as you guys can imagine, I'm thinking through this and I'm like, man, that's got to be a high turnover rate as you got these people. Every time you're selling companies, they're probably leaving with those companies. They're probably offered high compensation plans. And he goes, my people stay with me. And he goes, we have a very low turnover rate. He goes, most of our sales managers are with us 10, 15, 20 years. And he goes, number one, because when we sell companies, we always give them part shares because they're the ones that helped us build those companies, right? We rely on them in each individual marketplace. He goes, not a lot of other similar companies or our competition does that. We do that because we want our guys to know that we care about them. We want them to know that it value, the work that they're putting in and that they're scaling it and they're growing it with us. And we want them to know that, we don't want them to go home stressed out. We don't want them to worry about when we sell a company, is their job over with? Are they not going to have anything to do anymore? What's the next thing? So by that, they feel like they're actually building something too, because the more successful that company is, the higher higher percentage they're going to make on that sale as well too. So I thought it was a really interesting business model, because the profit sharing, when the company comes time to sell, he doesn't take all the profits himself, right? And they just pay his guys an hourly wage or a bonus. His guys actually get paid on the outcomes of that company. And when it goes to sell, they get a portion of that. So each one of his sales guys is always invested in that business like it's their own, because in a way it is.